Recreation Commission meeting Tuesday, March 11th, 2014. And Rita, you're going to have to help me through the beginning of this, please. But I call this meeting to order.
Do the roll call.
And if we can do the roll call, please.
Ms. Shepherd, Mrs. Dineno,
Present.
Ms. Jones, Mr. Holton, Mrs. Burdick,
Here.
Ms. Redding,
Here.
and Mr. Yem.
And approval. Minutes.
I make a motion
Go ahead.
that we approve the minutes as written.
I second.
Okay, minutes approved. And anything else before we get started? Okay.
Move on.
Citizen input. Nobody here today, so no citizen input. New business. No new business. All right, old business. And Mr. Rob Slezak is going to update us on old business.
Okay, why don't we start with the rates? That was the thing that I handed out to everybody last week, and or last month, I should say, not last week. And those rates came from, Greg was unable to be here today with the Finance Subcommittee. We had the Finance Subcommittee meeting on these along with our different staff to talk about these rates and kind of go through them together. And we brought these forward to the Recreation Commission for you guys to look at for the month and then come back if you had any questions. I'm open to any that you have. I had a few, just to let you know, we had a few corrections, like the community center, the current rate, those are costs per person, things like that. And then we had some spelling. We definitely had some spelling issues, too, that we cleaned up as well, like cleaning. Cleaning wasn't throughout the whole thing. We kind of missed cleaning. Kept calling it scening. So we cleaned that up, too.
Rob, I apologize. I wasn't here at the last meeting. I didn't get those rates.
Okay.
Do you have an extra copy? If not, you can just
Yeah.
email them to me.
Might want to do that because these are a little bit. This is the clean one. Yeah, please. And while we do that, why don't we go to the second point? We can come back to the rates. The update on the Indian River Sports Complex. Just to let you all know, that's a work in progress. The attorneys right now are working on the contractual stuff. There's some tie-ins that need to happen with both the county and with the Indian River Sports Complex, so that's just something being worked on right now. So that's where we stand at this point.
Okay.
There she is.
Can we go back to the rates?
Sure.
We started to talk about them, you and I, last month,
Yes.
and because I was kind of surprised at some
Some that went up and some that didn't.
some that didn't move at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, some of those items, if you change them, people will stop using them.
Mm-hmm.
I was really surprised by that. I mean, I'm sure you're right. You know what the history is of your experience there. So maybe that's the case for the dances. You know, they don't want to pay $3 instead of $2. Okay, I'm willing to believe that. But maybe down on the garage sale, where you've got $12. I mean, people who are going there to make money, not just to dance. Would they balk at 15?
What we did was, to let you know, we went from 10 to 12 recently. And fortunately, our number of people coming to the garage sales have gone down as well. That was an adjustment we just made within this past couple years. The garage sale used to be $10 and now $12. And what happens is, and the reason why it's a challenge is because we found out that there are, what are they called? Booths are pretty cheap over at flea markets. The local flea markets are really cheap, where you can get a flea market booth for $10 to $15, I think now.
Is that $12 per table, per 8-foot
Yes,
table?
per table, per 8-foot table. So people can actually purchase a booth over at one of the locals for like 10 or 15 bucks.
Okay. Can we go to the next page?
Sure.
That's the one for rentals.
Yes.
All right. I didn't see any changes there either, but like at the bottom, bleachers were 55 and now it's 55. I mean,
Yeah, for the additional day.
These are organizations, not individuals.
Correct.
So would they balk at 60? I mean,
For the additional day, probably not. I think one of the things that when we were doing that rental of the bleachers and things like that, we were thinking of the 3%. Even if we went with the 3%, which is your credit card, I think we could go up $10. Make it
Okay.
10. So I realize it's not a lot, but it's a small change. What we have found is that is competitive. The bleachers and the stage have been very competitive. Where we want to stay there. We found that with groups such as the Ocean Business Association and Downtown Business Association, that the rates that we charge right now are quite competitive and pretty much almost even with Indian River County. And if we go any higher, we will lose business.
Now, have these
That's-
rates gone into effect yet?
No, these
Yeah.
They're
the
proposed.
current rates are in effect. Proposed rates are not. And the overall, what we try to do is we try to look at everything. And what I also wanted to do with that report was give you a total. If you kind of look at each page, you see the event subtotal. But when you go through each of the different areas, you see subtotals change. And the overall increase that we were looking at was in the neighborhood of 10 to 12%. When you really start adding all those up. For instance, rental subtotal was current rate is $29,000 when you add up all the numbers, and the actual proposed is $33,398, which is really about 12 to 15%. The Leisure Square, with your programs and your guest fee and membership, you'll notice that it goes from $178 to $204 or $1,241 to $1,570, which to me is showing about a 10 to 12% increase as well. We try to increase where we could, and when you add them all up and try to do everything together, it runs about 8 to 10%. The thing we've learned is if we go too high, too fast, it turns people off. And in some cases, even if you change anything, you could lose them. Now, one of the things you brought up too, Sue, was the exercise class, specifically the aerobics. We could certainly try for, instead of $2.25 maybe. And I realize that's what I'm saying. When you look at that, you go, but I don't know if you really want, I don't know if it's, whereas some of the stuff people are going to be like, no problem, you're going to raise, we're fine paying it. There might be a little bit of grumpiness, but really the bottom line is it's just depends on what group you're dealing with.
there isn't anywhere else to go for that kind of money, though.
There isn't, however, they may find other avenues. I will tell you, I don't know, Bobby. I mean, I kind of think of it, this is with the aerobics, specifically with the regular aerobics. I don't know if they just don't go out with friends and go for free, or if they just go walking instead. The library, free.
It's free, right?
So they find their avenues. It's a balance. It's kind of a challenging balance. And don't get me wrong, we could be wrong. I mean, I can certainly go out and propose another $1, but I have a feeling I'll get a lot of people that'll drop.
Do you pay that instructor?
Oh yeah. And you got to remember that instructors will get In that case, we'll get $20 or $25 an hour, and you'll have 35, 40 students. So if you're making $2 a head, you're making $20, $25, $30. But if you lose those people, that's the challenge. And it's amazing because some of the things you look at and you go, oh, if they just go $2 and $3. Whereas, like the tennis rates, when we came forward to you guys with the tennis rates, we changed the round robins. They play round robin 4 or 5 days, 5 days a week. They now have added on another couple round robin days. They're still at waiting lists, and we increased their rates by $1 each. At first you go $1 each. Well, that's not a whole lot. Well, when you start doing 40 people per day, per session, and you have 7 or 8 sessions, now you're suddenly changing. Now your dollar is really something. If we go 25 cents or $1 for the aerobics, and we only have it twice a week, I have a feeling we're just asking maybe for it. So and that was one of the things we wanted to do when we talked with our different supervisors, and also look at our past, and then also have the finance subcommittee and outside the box folks and you guys kind of take a look at it and throw out questions, things. We can certainly debate it, and it's always a challenge. It's always interesting what happens.
I know a lot of the ones that were in my class are going to the Planet Fitness for $10 a month.
And that was one of the things that we did a while ago was we had gone and screened, and the story we had was we went out and screened all the different exercise facilities. And one of the people that we met up with had said all along, you guys have been charging a yearly rate. And he says, you really need to charge a monthly rate. He says participation levels should increase, and I think you'll realize some significant revenue enhancement. And what we were charging at the time was anywhere from, if $3 a month to, at one time, $8 to $10 a month for the exercise facility at Leisure Square. Well, he looked at that and he was like, you guys should be charging, you should call around and see what the competition is like. So we called around, and the closest competition at the time was $30 a month. So what did we do? We came to the Recreation Commission, then we went to council and city management and said, let's raise our rates to $20 and $25. But
I think we have to remember, though, who your audience is.
Correct.
Because the person who goes to one of the tennis clubs or one of the other clubs is not the person who typically goes to Leisure Square.
That's right.
And you have a lot of city employees going to Leisure Square that can't afford very much. And my thought, because I use Leisure Square so much, my thought is that's what a city facility should be. It should be for the people. We shouldn't be in competition. We shouldn't even try to be in competition with the private clubs in town.
Well,
we don't hand out towels. We don't do all sorts. We're pretty bare bones over
Sure.
there. We don't even have shower heads. So,
Sure.
I'm thinking comparing us to some of the fitness clubs isn't what our city facilities should be about. That's how I feel about it.
And that was a lesson that we learned. And one of the things I was going to say is when we went out and did the $20 to $25, well, we learned our lesson real fast. Everything from the bare bones, exactly what you're talking about, Lynn, to you had a company come in and charge $10 a month. Well, that was that.
Right.
So that was a lesson learned. And the idea was one of we thought we were in a really good position to. So bottom line is we're now where we're at, and we've dropped them down. And I'd say your average rates now are $10 to $15 a month for.
They have like still the punch cards and things that they used to do.
We do punch cards. We do punch cards. Yeah, for programs. A lot more of the programs.
So what did you say? You are going to increase the amount of the credit card charge so that you're not losing money in this increase?
That was one other balances that we had when we were meeting with the different groups was, in finance, we met with finance too. I forgot to mention Cindy and her group. They wanted to make sure that 2.5% or 3% that we get charged for credit cards were inclusive in when we go to raise our rates as part of the overall schematic. So we looked at a number of items, and what we found with the credit cards is that it's going to be the things that are the bigger ticket items, the rentals and things like that, which it has been to this point. Your memberships are more your yearly membership, not your monthly, which is all good. So our thing was that as part of the increase was we wanted to make sure to offset that cost as well, which we think we're going to do with these rate changes.
Okay.
Can I ask on the leisures, and again, I didn't get a chance to review all this,
Sure.
but what is the daily rate at Leisure Square?
Your daily rate
Is
is...
that on here somewhere?
It should be on there. Yeah, that's your guest fee.
The reason I ask, Rob, is
5 and 7.
5 and 7.
Mhm.
Reason I ask is I was
Go
there a
ahead.
couple of weeks ago, and a family came in from out of town and wanted to just go in the pool, and I don't know, there were 3 or 4 kids and the parents, and they couldn't afford the daily rate. And I wondered if, maybe, do you have some sort of, is there a family daily rate? So if you bring a couple kids, it doesn't
I don't-
become $35 or $40 to use the swimming pool
I don't
for an
think we
hour?
do, and I'm glad you mentioned it. And I'm not seeing it on my list. So interesting. Okay. Yeah, family.
It would be nice if we could make that an affordable rate for families. So if they can't afford to join for a year or a month, that they could come over on a Saturday or come over and use the swimming pool. And we think about all economic levels that lower income families could come over for the day. Maybe like kids under 16 are free with adults, something like that. And that, too, our out-of-town guests would have a swimming pool that they could go to as well. Because I don't know as if there is any other place if you're coming in from out of town and looking for a swimming pool.
Right, for just a one-day outing.
So maybe we could add some rates so families could enjoy the pool.
Sure. Yeah, I've got the family pool rate for the month, but I'm not seeing daily. So absolutely, we could do that. We should do that.
Okay, and what happened on the last page, the programs and special events?
Programs, special events. Okay, go ahead.
Everything went down, except performing art groups.
Okay, you got, how you want to look at that one is your center stage and performing arts, the page before. I don't know why it shouldn't say programs and special events too. What you're talking about says program and special events?
I'm talking about the last page.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
got
yeah.
Gymnastics and aerial.
Right. But it says program special events, that's incorrect.
Yeah,
That
okay.
should actually read center stage performing arts.
Okay.
I'm glad you caught that. What you'll see is the page before, you'll see increases in things, and then on the second page, you won't see the increases. It's kind of mixed. And when you see the overall, it goes up a roughly 6 or 7%.
Why did we go down on all those items? They all went down with the exception of performing art groups. It looks like you just rounded down on everything.
I think we were just simplifying because we noticed
Well,
some of the classes were up and down with participation.
You think $1 makes a difference on this base of $45?
Okay, what I wanted to, yeah, it does psychologically when we had this talk with them. But what you want to do is look at the page before. Do you see where it says programs?
Yeah.
Okay, you'll see some that have gone up.
Right.
See, center stage and performing arts should be these two pages together, and it came across as it's like two separate things. This all should be together. So I'm going to make sure that happens. Comes across as confusing. Do you see how it's gone up on that first page?
I see
Like
some.
Acrotot City, Acrotot County, that's all performing arts. These two pages are both performing arts.
Well, the things that were increased are like the first 6 items, and after that, everything went down.
Mm-hmm.
That also has to do with comparison to other similar programs
Mm-hmm.
in the area. We wanted to stay below.
Who else has these programs?
Like your
Ultimate Cheer and
Christie's.
Dance, Indian River Gym Academy, Sunrise Gym and Gymnastics. Let's see.
Who has the gymnastics?
Christie's. I'm sorry.
Who has the gymnastics?
Sunrise Gymnastics.
All of those ones you just
Tumbleweeds, Indian River Gym Academy, Ultimate Cheer and Dance, and Christie's.
Seems to me, my first thought is maybe everybody should bear the burden of having increased rates, not just some of the programs.
Again, to me, it comes out and it weighs out. When I look at this overall with this center stage and everything else that we did, when I combine your current rate to your proposed rate with all of their proposed and the current, I had 1676 to 1735. So that is roughly a 6% increase in rates for gymnastics, performing arts. So, when we weighed everything out, it runs from 6, in some cases you'll see 15, depending on where it was, depending on which supervisor we meet with. This comes as confusing because that last page should have been combined with the page before it to see the difference.
Oh, that didn't confuse me. The going down's what confused me, and that happens on both pages.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I know this sounds like heresy, but why are we competing with private enterprise anyway?
Not competing with them. We just offer similar programs.
And we're trying to keep our programs, like Lynn said, that are affordable.
For everybody.
Correct. And one thing we saw, and again, with the same thing that happened with the Leisure Square and even the AM aerobics, that we increased rates at two different places. Performing arts, we went too high, and summer camp, we went too high. And for a year or two, we paid for it because the participation levels fell off. And the big reason why is because of what Lynn said.
And you're
before.
adjusting it now, or you adjusted it before?
We've adjusted it before.
So why are we-
Acrotots in the city, to let you know, some of these things just changed to go up. That's one thing that we didn't explain to you. The rates like you're seeing right now, for some of these rates, we're running 40, 60. They're now we're going to have them at 40, instead they're going to be 45 and 65. But we had raised them to 41. We went from 40 to 41. Well, now we're going from 41 to 45 because we know the Acrotots in the city, what we provide with the Acrotots, which are your 3, 4, 5-year-olds, is something that is unique in the city and something that people will participate in, and we have waiting lists for. So that's something we looked at. Whereas some of these other classes are much more class-oriented or much more competitive with other people in the county that do gymnastics, and we're trying to still stay positive for those folks that we're not going to drain them too much. These are the kids with families, so you could have, Lynn, you mentioned 2 or 3 people coming. We could have 3 or 4 gymnasts participate from a family, and we're trying to keep the costs so the families can still come and do those things.
Rob, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, come up here though.
Gotta come up here, Judy.
I'm too weak from the shocks I just had.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
This is Judy Jones.
Yes. Dick just left too. We were both late. Errol was so sick. How do you charge Special Olympics, like the senior class, when they have skip day and those organizations? They're free?
That's a partnership right now. That's an agreement that we have. To let you know, that's an agreement we have with the school board where we get to use their buses and not pay for the fuel costs. And in return, they use our facilities for their programming. It's very, very good partnership. Saves us a lot of money.
Does
in
that
fuel.
include the high school swimming in the pool?
Yeah.
So they don't pay anything for that?
No. They don't pay anything for that, but then we don't pay for fuel for the buses, and we don't pay for the buses.
Is that for summer camp you're talking about?
And then we also get a real good break on one of our
Using the theater.
theater.
We get a big discount.
Huge discount.
You're really getting a better deal.
I'd say each year it varies. It depends on what's going on with fuel costs. That's the big one.
Now, I noticed the rates that you got some pretty big increases with the gym and pool there.
What page are you on?
Page it's not numbered here.
It's not numbered, but the one where Leisure Square is
Leisure
your
Square.
heading.
I see,
Mm-hmm.
110 to 150, 150 to 230.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big increase. You think you might lose some people?
Good
That's
question.
That's a big increase. I would not be happy if I was paying that.
Do you think we should try and go a little bit lower than that? A couple, $20?
I don't know. I don't have a good handle on who your members are over there. But sometimes I think that things like this are better spread out rather than such a big
Is that an annual?
increase.
Semi-annual and yearly.
Yeah, 200 to 290, 150 to 230. How many members do you have at Leisure Square?
I think the last time they looked at it was around 400.
400?
Yeah, Jungle Club's like $750 a year.
Okay.
And of course, that membership varies because it's monthly, etc., coming and going. But
Well, I think that's a big increase. I just wonder if we're going to see a loss of people, and then I know how that cycle goes. We've got less people coming here, so we can close more hours, and we got the whole cycle starting all over again.
well, I'm thinking that Lynn, what we can do is just chop that difference in half. What do you think?
Well, I think you have to make that decision.
Okay. But it's
But-
kind of a thing that's on your mind, so that's something I can go back to.
Again, I apologize. I'm just looking at this right now.
Sure.
But the other thing on our mind is you having enough money to pay your people
Right.
and offer programs, period.
Right.
Not
It's a,
shut the doors.
That's right. And it's a balancing act. It is definitely a balancing act. It's at least worth going back and sitting down with Jeff and at least discussing this before we bring this to the
I mean, if we
city
have to
council.
start dealing with cold water and the pool
Sure.
shut down more days and all of that stuff, I don't know. Again,
It's a big jump all in one.
Yeah, I'm
chunk.
looking at those four right now. The four that you're talking about, the two semi-annuals and the yearlies.
it just seems like a big jump to me. And maybe you could reconsider that and bring it back to the next meeting, Rob.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is what I'm going to do with that is I'll report to you guys and let you know because I'll probably take this is the last meeting with everybody's input. Take this back to Jeff, pick his brain a little bit, and then come back and submit something and let you know what changes we made for next meeting. I'm guessing right now how I'm looking at it is splitting that number in half, breaking it in half, going from $40 difference to a $20 difference or a $10 difference.
Well, I guess I'd ask you how you came up with these numbers.
Well, I think the idea was that one was Jeff looked at his participation levels and his costs, and felt like these numbers were very workable for his clientele. Now, the question is, with this, will it go, with the pool? Because really what we're looking at when we're looking at these is really the gym and pool.
So, you're increasing that in some cases over 50%, and then there's some things like the
Right.
gymnastics,
5 or 6.
water aerobics, which is staying the same. I know you get huge numbers with that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you should bump that up to $5 a class.
I agree.
How do you split that fee with John, that water aerobics fee?
John, we get we pay him $1.75 per class. And
Okay.
we get that difference, and it's a pretty significant amount of money.
What if you just went a percentage across the board? Would that not work?
It could. It could help. It could hurt, depending.
I know that, for instance, even with my swim lessons, it looks like it goes from 100 to 125, but we also threw in 2 months of free membership with that, so that's a little deceptive
Right.
in terms of that. So you get the swim lessons and you get to use the facility for 2 months for $25. So that's not a bad deal.
And as you're raising rates, maybe the thing to do to dissuade people from going someplace else is to do more than just raise rates.
Right, offer
know?
other things.
Yeah, make
good
it
point.
make it more attractive to stay. And if suddenly one of your gymnastics things, everybody says that's too much money, then add that other baby program that you've got the waiting list for.
Yeah, one of
Add
the
a second class.
I know that one of the things we were looking at too is just the idea of the big one is our big ticket, and the big ticket to me are the rental facilities.
Sure.
And trying to give discounts at the rental facilities for registrants, specifically those who sign up for classes or sign up for memberships, things like that. I know when I'm looking at the pool rates, and you're looking at when you look at the 150. What you're telling a person, if they want to use the gym and the pool, they're going to pay $25 a month, and the other one's $20 a month. But they were before paying.
Or do you have a target amount as far as what you need to meet in increases?
Our goal is to try and make 8 to 10%, Bobby. And what I will tell you is, if we get 8 to 10%, we can attain our current budgetary goal. One of the things that we were shooting for this year, where we had a number of different items outside of our own rates that we were trying to propose that would get us that difference. And a lot of those things have already fallen through. But for good reason, I understand it. I mean, everything from trying to promote the towers to the different items that some of the subcommittees talked about. But, the bottom line with all of this is I can take this back to Jeff and go through this and kind of see where we're
I
at.
guess I would like to see a rationale for why you increased and decreased, and
But I think he
Well,
said he's not coming back here again.
Again, the rationale to me is,
well, we can
you know,
come
when
back
you-
here with this again,
Okay,
can't we?
sure, we can. We can do that. I mean, the rationale was, when we did these rates, was, okay, talk to our staff. Let them take a look at everything that they provide and put out there. The second thing is, we have a finance subcommittee, someone who is set up from the Recreation Commission to look at our rates. We had the finance department there to go through our rates. We went and looked at these rates. We want to bring these to you and let you know. The idea with all of it was all of this stuff is being weighed. It's kind of what we brought up at last month's meeting was, some of these programs, you go to raise them, you're going to have a problem. You're going to get a drop. Some of the programs may be too high, and we could take a hit like we did when we did that for Leisure Square. When we did it for
Maybe that's
camp, and-
okay. Maybe if you raise the rate and all of a sudden everybody says, I'm not paying it, maybe that's okay. Then maybe you eliminate that program and you find another program that people are interested in paying for.
But part of there's a two, to me, that's kind of a double-edged. There's a couple things that could come from that. One, if people are participating in those programs and you have pretty much full participation, could it be that when you go to do that, you've costed them out and now it's a family that can't do the program? That's one thing. The second thing is, okay, so we don't get the revenue from that. So between the time that we try to go for a new program and the revenue we just lost, we're actually showing that at the end of the year ledger, which doesn't look good for budget and for council. So what we try to do when we do all of this is try to balance it. We try to look at things. The overall intent was to try and raise between 8 and 12% revenue overall. What number are we going to reach?
I think Sue might have, maybe we need to be a little bit more creative, like sign up for a year and you get the first 3 months free, or, some creative programs. Sign up for the gym membership and get 3 months of the swimming pool free. Maybe there's some creative ways, because I think our ultimate goal with Leisure Square is to increase participation so we can get that place fixed up, because
Exactly.
it really
Exactly.
needs to be fixed up.
And I think that, that when you fix it up, it's going to draw more attention, and you're going to get more people as a result.
And you're right about that. Full participation is absolutely the goal in all of our sites. What I will tell you guys, one of the things that council had brought to us last budget year was for us to evaluate and assess our facilities, because some of them were starting to look very tired. The
Sure.
word was tired.
Absolutely.
And what we're doing is right now Jeff is working on Leisure Square, and of course we've already had the event that happened on the 1st to get some people informed and educated. But he's putting together a report which will have pictures along with summary in areas where, Lynn, you mentioned the shower heads. Everything from, I'm guessing I'm going to see everything from shower heads, but I'm also going to see roof. I'm going to see
Flooring,
bathroom, floors, walls, things like that. And we're also going to have, in addition to that, we're going to set up a plan that we want to take to council, which would be a step plan of either all-inclusive or in stages. And then the other idea will be that once we go this route, make sure that we're doing this for all of our facilities. So we're doing it also for community center. We're doing it at community center. We're doing the same thing with Lori. We've kind of taken that approach onto some other things that I think we're doing a lot better on, because they're much more smaller ticket. River House, for instance, had the boardwalk, the deck area go. And I told Bobby about that. And what happened was Public Works and General Maintenance Services came out, rebuilt the deck with concrete, rebuilt the benches, sprayed the building, painted in areas, and it looks great. We've got Riverside tennis courts are about to be resurfaced. Great. Bethel Creek House might need a little bit of a wash, but not major, but it needs the awning. That pretty much is it. But the majors are Leisure Square and the community center.
Absolutely.
And that's what these reports are going to be about. And I'm hoping that we can either set it up in stages or we set it up
Rob,
in
I remember
one
last year
all-inclusive.
at this time, the mayor suggested to you that you put a line item in your budget for capital improvements for Leisure Square. What did you put in there?
What I put in there, what we wound up getting for capital improvements for Leisure Square was an awning.
What dollar amount did you put in?
8,000, 7 or 8,000.
And they reduced it to 700 or 800?
No, it's 7 or 8,000. That's still in the budget.
Oh, okay.
That was in.
So what are you going to put in this year for capital improvements?
After this report, and after we hear what we've been asked to do, a lot.
Okay.
A lot. Now, what I will tell you is last year in capital, regular capital, we got a paddle board. And last year in construction capital, we got a couple radios, which we're getting now, the awning for Leisure Square, and the tennis courts resurfaced. That was our budget last year.
Has anybody put anything in for Patty to have a private area for the families yet?
No.
I was there recently, and I don't know how you teach, Patty.
We haven't put that in. We're making do.
So I wonder if, I'm sorry, Rob, when do you have to have your budget turned in?
Normally, we'll have our budget given to us here either late in March or early April from finance, and then we'll be given a directive of where to go, whether we
Okay.
can, what we can submit. The other thing is I want to have the report that these guys are doing for me done within the next month, so I
So-
can have that.
So would you be willing to take another look at some of these bumps that went up so high and bring it back to the next meeting?
Sure.
Okay. And let's just put that on the agenda for the next meeting then.
What's the target for these increases going into effect?
Well, my goal was going to be May 1st, so I think we still can do that. Because we wouldn't be able to take this to council until until April, and they have 2 meetings, so it
Okay.
might just be a little bit later than that.
And I would like to, this is my opinion, but I would like to see something where you have a huge membership like water aerobics increasing that. For that not to increase at $4, even to go up to $6, how many people do you have Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays?
I know that he's averaging between, depending on weather-wise, if you have decent weather, between 28 and 45.
How many can go in the pool at one time?
Yeah, you're pretty much on the edge.
I was going to say.
Yeah, well,
Right.
that's reason right there to increase it.
Yeah, that's a great reason to increase it. So if you wouldn't mind taking a look at some of these large increases in,
Sure. And if there's some that you want to
Coming
send
back.
me too, when you take a look, Lynn, if you want to send me something, I'll make sure
Okay.
that that's
well,
part
let's
of our.
open that up to the whole commission.
Yeah.
That if there's anything, people want to take another look at this and send it to Rob.
Send it to me.
Any questions, and then you can answer those questions at the next meeting. And we'll try to do it quickly.
Sure. That's fine.
Okay, Recreation Directors Matters.
Right now, just to let you know, I'm doing a benchmarking consortium with, that's something that we're asked to benchmark with a number of different counties, Parks and Recreation with a number of different counties and cities in the state of Florida. And I've just begun the process, and this is going to be a dual thing between the Parks and Recreation departments.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you just said.
We have benchmarking, what we've been asked to do. If you guys remember, I had a benchmarking where we went with 8 other cities. Well, now I'm doing a new benchmarking that's a lot more cities and a lot more counties, but the questions are very specific. So you're following, this
Give
is
us
something.
an example.
Let's go with operating budget, revenue percentage versus that budget, number of volunteer hours. Let's see, the number of overall hours for staff, which includes part-time, full-time, overtime.
Part-time, full-time, and don't
Overtime
you have another
total.
category?
Total divided by 2,080. That kind of stuff.
Okay.
But
And
it's
we're
not.
gonna-
It's nothing like the last benchmarking. It's a
Okay.
lot more specific. It's like specific questions to answer these questions. How many people were in summer camp? That kind of stuff.
Do you have do the cities on the Treasure Coast have some sort of consortium or some sort of, do you have like a month or a annual meeting with the rec directors or anything like that where you can get together and talk about some of these things, roundtable?
They do meet. Haven't done it in a long time. Used to go to the conferences, the FRPA conferences, but monies became pretty tight on that stuff.
I'm just talking about a day going somewhere. I mean, we could invite them here to Vero Beach. It wouldn't cost you a thing.
Sure.
But sometimes it's nice to get together with people that are in your similar position and talk about what's going on rather than just calling and benchmarking all the time. To have some guest speakers about, capital improvements and fees. And just to get together, you and Patty, to get together with people who are in similar positions and just
Brainstorm.
Well, and
brainstorm.
that was the great thing about the FRPA, and it was a conference. And what it would be is you'd go out there and you would see a number of different programs. You'd meet a lot of different people. You would have the people from the parks, the recreation, the directors, the workers. You were able to talk to different folks and have everybody there at your,
Come up with a lot
and
of
much
new
more.
ideas.
And the thing about Atlanta was it was a much more relaxed atmosphere, so people could relax and just talk and not,
Well, I think it's good to be proactive
Yeah.
and to get together with people in your position. We seem to do a lot of comparing all the time, and I'm sure you spend hours and hours on the telephone and in front of the computer. And, I think sometimes we get so insular in our outlook on things rather than expanding what other people are doing, that other people have new ideas. And again, it doesn't have to be a 3-day conference. It can be a 1-day conference. It can be a 1-day bring your
Sure.
lunch.
1 hour.
It's just something to think about for you to have an opportunity to talk with other people. And I would be happy to set that up for you.
Stuff.
If you want to take me up on that, I would do that.
Okay.
Are the other counties experience the financial pressure that you are?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. You just talk to your Indian River County.
I have.
Oh, yes. Yeah, this is nationwide. And everything that's going on is nationwide. Everything from recreation to your health care, to your pensions, to your vacations, everything.
And I think that's important too, that the people who live in Vero Beach see what trends are happening in other cities, that it's not just you increasing rates, it's not just you doing this or doing that, that this is a trend in Florida. And sometimes the only way you can figure those things out is by talking with people. So just a suggestion for getting people together. I don't think there's anybody on the Treasure Coast that couldn't drive here.
No, and
for a
vice
day.
versa. There's no reason why I couldn't drive somewhere too. They have something.
Okay, Recreation Directors Matters.
I think I'm pretty good. I know we have the fair coming up, and I'll let Patty talk about that.
Okay,
Our performing arts students will be doing 3 shows at the fair. Starting Saturday, the first one starts at 1:30, the second one's at 3, and then Monday the 17th,
Firefighters.
Firefighters Fair.
It's performed there.
6:30 on Monday, and this is a long-standing. 40 years or so we've been doing this, ever since they've had the fair. So it's great for the kids.
I hope you're not spotting anyone.
I'm taking it easy. Hopefully, I'll make it there.
No comment.
When is your, my questions, is that all you had, Rob?
Yes.
Okay. I'll move on I just had a couple of questions for you. When is the summer registration for programs happening? Tennis camp, gymnastics?
The camps at Leisure Square already started
Started.
March 1st. The summer gymnastics, actually, we have one session in between. So we have a registration on April 5th, and then another one on June. Oh, I want to say it's the 6th. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's right before camp starts. Actually, it would be the 7th, June 7th,
Okay.
And we have Easter egg hunt on the 12th,
April 12th at Mulligan's.
and I think it's June 7th.
It is June 7th.
For your gymnastics registration. And your tennis, I think she started the tennis camp stuff already. So a
can
lot
I-
of the stuff has already gotten going.
So can I safely say that Leisure Square is ready to start registration with swim lessons as well?
We'll find out for you.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to bring something up. I was sat down at the beach a couple weeks ago, and we have had, as you saw from the Vero Beach Lifeguard Association, a lot of visitors on our beach this year, which is great. But I think it was disturbing that the lifeguards go off duty at 3 o'clock. When they blow that horn, a lot of visitors, and I was sitting up at Humiston under that pagoda thing. And first of all, people didn't know what that was. But second of all, there were still a lot of people on the beach and a lot of people in the water at 3 o'clock. And I think we should revisit that when you put your budget together, lifeguard hours, because I think that is just too early to have those beaches unguarded. It seems like for some people, that's when they get off work, they go to the beach, and we don't, and I'm talking about not just a few, 3 or 4 people on the beach, but we had a lot of people on the beach and in the water. And the day I was there were some fairly big waves, too. And I thought that was, just not a great idea to have our guards going off duty. And
Just comes back to the budget.
I know it's a budget item, but it's something that I really would like to explore again.
I agree. I was there on a Sunday afternoon when I even took a picture of it. The beach was crowded. There were kids still in the water. The water was rough, and the lifeguards went off duty. And I said, oh, this is just an accident waiting to happen.
That's definitely one of the things for this next budget, depending on what directive we're given.
I
key is
know
directive.
the council has to approve
The
that.
key is directive.
Is that something I can make a motion on right now, Rob?
Sure, from your group, if you want to send a note off
And
to
maybe-
city manager and council, that you have every right to do that.
I guess I would like to make a motion that our beaches are guarded until 4 o'clock.
What time do
instead
they
of
start?
10 a.m.
10.
Humiston
10.
Beach, okay, and it's just Humiston. So it's Humiston Beach is guarded from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And it'll be guarded that way until spring break. And then it'll be unguarded after spring break that week. And it'll go back and be guarded. And when I say guarded, it's 9 to 5. And it'll go back during summer break from 9 to 5.
So it's not guarded at JC Park anymore?
JC is 9 to 5 every day, and South Beach is 9 to 5 every day.
Oh, okay.
So it's just what you're talking about is
Just
Humiston.
I guess I'd like to make a motion that Humiston Beach, when there are guards there, that the hours are extended to 4 o'clock p.m.
I second it.
You want to take a... Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
No, but to clarify, you're making a motion that the city consider expanding
That
the hours,
City consider
Yeah.
extending the hours till 4 o'clock on the days there's
Right.
lifeguards there.
just for clarification, right? Okay. As long as we're talking about the beach, nobody read the VBLA report this month, but he does mention dogs on the beach here. And I drove by JC Park the other day, and I didn't look at the other parks, but in front of every single sign that said no dogs on the beach was a trash can. Was a big wooden, stuck in the ground trash can, literally in front of the sign. So you can't really fault people for not seeing the sign, because I called Monty. And he said, oh, I'm on my way over there. I said, that's you, right? And he says, well, if anything's wrong, it's me.
Good. I can remember that.
Yeah. Anyway, but I wanted to mention that. You don't notice the sign because there's a big wooden trash can in front of it.
Can you bring that up to the right people, Rob? Okay. I just have a couple other things. Where are we at with the beach umbrella lease
Still being
things.
worked on, contractual. Right now, it's in the hands of Scott. He was looking at the attorneys had put together the lease, and he's looking at the final, whatever.
So
What go-
Scott is being considered as the vendor of
Yes.
choice.
Yes. Yeah, he was
Okay.
selected.
Okay, and so right now we're at the point where he's looking at the lease, and if that's something he can live with, he's going to sign it, and then it would be effective immediately.
Yes, and then he just has to satisfy whatever city requests are, like permitting, et cetera. But yeah.
Okay. And where are we at with the leased dog park as well?
That's a work in progress as well. That is also with the attorney's office. They've got a number of things in their office right now, but that is definitely one of those things as well. The council approved 5 years,
Right.
and that's still a work in progress. That's still being worked out with the city attorneys and